Hi, welcome to the 2021 Summer Food Service Training for Forest Grove School District. My name is Lacey Pickerel. I'm our program director. Our program coordinator is Raymond Alfonso, and our sponsor for the Forest Grove School District is Jennifer Evers. Thank you so much for being here today. I know a virtual training is a little different than how this is typically done, but we appreciate you logging on today and taking this training so that you can be a summer volunteer or work our summer food service program. Typically, we would go around the room and introduce ourselves, but given the virtual nature of this today, we are going to jump right into our material. So posted below this link to view the training, there will be a Google Doc link. Please add your name and contact information to that Google link there. Signature of this training is required in order to be a volunteer. We need to have everybody's signature that they have attended this training and for ODE purposes. But today we're going to walk through what a summer program service is, how does a site operate, when and how to get food for each site, and how to complete the required daily paperwork. We'll cover some social distancing and safety procedures specific to COVID-19, watch a civil rights training video, and then give you contact information for how to get more meals and what that looks like for you. So first up, a summer food service program. We're going to call it SFSP from now on. SFSP is a federally funded program. It provides free meals to children age 1 to 18 throughout the summer while school's not in session. This year we have some waivers, but typically the area uses demographic information to determine eligibility, meaning that we have a demonstrated need here for this program. As with many of these programs, accurate record keeping and administration of the program is key to ensure continued success and availability of the program. That's a lot of words to say. This program doesn't exist without the meal count paperwork that every site volunteer will complete daily. This shows that we are out there serving meals and is attesting that we are following the Department of Education's rules. The way these federally funded programs work is you have to agree to follow the rules in order to be reimbursed, and without the reimbursement, we would not be able to offer these kinds of programs. So later in this presentation, we'll walk you through how to complete that meal count paperwork, but it is vital to our success to make sure it is filled out accurately daily. And of course, anytime there's outreach, participation is enhanced if there are activities arranged at each site. This year, more than ever, we will have volunteers hosting activities at each of the park sites, and the district has enrichment programs planned at many of our open sites. So a really exciting year for summer program for us. So how a summer program works, you'll be given in coolers or crates all of the items that you're going to need for your program given on a day. So for some of you, that will be, if you're working a summer program and you're a Sodexo employee, you might be serving breakfast and lunch separately to kids who are in a building for the day. If you are a park volunteer, you will be given what you need to assemble a reimbursable meal for the kids that are coming to the parks. This year, we are serving breakfast and lunch together. So every meal bag that you hand out will have a breakfast and lunch complete in there. But you'll have exactly what you need from the kitchen you're assigned. So volunteers, site staff, and kitchen staff must be ready to serve food at the designated mealtime. If your mealtime does not work for your program, we'll change it with ODE. Please notify myself, Raymond, or Jennifer Evers. It is critical to stick to our assigned mealtimes. We are only reimbursed for meals that are served within that period. So for the parks, that is 12 to 12:30, which means at 12 p.m. you will begin to serve kids, and at 12:30 p.m. you will stop serving and people who are at the park. That being said, there is some wiggle room there. If you arrive 5 minutes late, you can go ahead and bump that service time for 5 minutes, but it needs to be documented. So for whatever reason, your meals don't show up until 12:05, you could serve until 12:35 as long as you are documenting it on the paper. So when you receive your meals, you'll also take your site binder. This has your meal count form document inside, and I will show you exactly how to fill that out. Food must be served within 1 hour of pickup to ensure food safety. So if you are picking up meals at 11:45 from your designated school pickup site, taking us to 12:45, that should be well enough time to get all the meals served, packed up, and returned back to the building to be within that food compliance. Please use the thermometers provided to temp the milk and the hot foods, and record these temperatures on the daily meal count form. Once you're at your site, please post the provided meal times and rule signage for all to see. Ensure that the Justice for All poster is visible. This is tucked into the back of each of your summer binders. So please do put that out on a table so folks can see it. And ensure social distancing and food pickup rules are also posted. We have 6 parks this summer, so we have split them up into 2 different park base kitchens. So if you are volunteering at Rogers Park, Harleman Park, or Rose Grove Park, you are picking your meals up at Joseph Gale Elementary School. If you are serving meals at Talisman Park, Bard Park, or Lincoln Park, you are picking up your meals at Harvey Clark Elementary School. This is crucial because only these parks will be ready to go for pickup at those schools. So if you are serving at Bard Park, you would not be able to go to Joseph Gale. And if you were serving at Harleman, you would not show up to Harvey Clark. So please do make a note of this for whichever park site you are volunteering at to know which school to go pick up all of your supplies at. So how a site operates is hopefully at 11:45, the meal runner will get the meals from the park site, or from our school site rather, sorry, and bring it to the park site. And then we would like somebody there to complete the daily meal count form. So that could be the same person. If you are the runner, you might deliver the meals and then stay to serve. Or if you have just volunteered to be the runner and you are going to leave and come back to pick up the meals after service, please do make sure there's someone there before you leave for the day, or sorry, before you leave for meal service. If there's no one there to help you, or if you were not planning on staying, please do call one of our cell phones. So when it's time to open, have children or parents line up 6 feet apart. We will be assembling bags for you. You will just need to add the hot or cold items to them. So everything should be inside each of the bags you're getting, except for 2 milks and the breakfast and lunch entrees. So every bag will contain the fruits, vegetables, and then the entrees are made of the grain and the meat alternate components, and then we have to add milk. So we are serving breakfast and lunch together. Every child needs both complete meals. Breakfast is the same number of components as lunch with the exception of vegetables. So let's say our menu for the day is a muffin for breakfast, and then lunch is a chicken burger. Everything for the fruits and vegetables will be in your bags assembled already. What you will need to do is take the muffin out of the container and put it in your bag, and then also 2 milks, 1 for breakfast and 1 for lunch. And then the chicken burger will need to come out of the hot holding bag and put in the bag as well. So students are allowed and encouraged to take meals off-site to consume them to comply with social distancing, but it is not required that they leave like last year. So students are allowed to congregate in the park, but we do ask that they still remain socially distanced from other folks. And then we ask that you stay open during the entire window of time as described on the site information sheet. So for all of our parks, that is 12 to 12:30. So we would ask that you stay open and continue to serve meals until 12:30 p.m. So once the meal service window has finished, please pack up any remaining food items, supplies, and return them with your cooler and binder and completed paperwork to the school site where you picked up your items. Please do this as quickly as possible so our staff can clean up and prepare for the next day. Our meal service is in at 12:30, so we would hope that no later than 1 p.m. everything would be back at the school sites. If you are the runner who is returning the coolers, it's a best practice to do that first and then maybe run any errands or do things you have to do afterwards, rather than take our supplies with you to any of those errands. And also a best practice is good communication with the kitchen staff. Let's say we handed you 80 meals for the day and you only served 20. Please make a note of that, or vice versa. If there were 100 kids at the park, but you only had 20 meals, please do share that so we can adjust appropriately. We really would like to minimize waste while ensuring everybody who's eligible to eat gets the opportunity to do so. So program adults and volunteers are welcome to a meal, but only after children have been served first. These meals will be accounted for on the daily meal count form, and I will show you where to put those here in a moment. Second meals are not to be served. So every student or child is allowed one meal bag that's with both a breakfast and a lunch, but there are no second breakfasts or second lunches. They are not reimbursed, and every time we serve a non-reimbursable meal, that's less funding for the school district to allow us to provide these kinds of free programs. Parents of participating kids are not allowed to eat any portion of the child's meals. These meals are specifically created for children, and adults are not part of that. But if there's a real need there, and if they're truly hungry, ask them to help clean up or assist you in some way. That way we can consider them a volunteer, and they could get a program adult meal. We, of course, are not in the habit of turning away hungry folks, but again, are only able to claim fully reimbursable meals, which means that they would need to be under 18. Please ensure all your daily paperwork is returned to your designated kitchen. This ensures we can continue to provide free meals to children in our area. And something new last year and this year of note is that we're serving both breakfast and lunch together. A daily count sheet must be completed daily for each meal type, meaning you should have two almost identical forms per day, but one would have breakfast circled on the form and the other would have lunch. So I'm going to walk you through how to complete one of these daily meal count forms. At the top, you'll see site name here. You'll put in the park name. So for example, Rogers Park. Address is not important for the park sites, but if you are at a school site, you could put that there. Supervisor's name, that is myself. It is Lacey Pickerel. Meal type. This is where you'll distinguish between a breakfast and a lunch meal. So while we are serving both at the park sites, for example, this is Rogers Park, you would have two forms here completed for the day. One would have a B circled for breakfast and the other one would have an L circled for lunch. The hash marks should be exactly the same on here because we are serving a breakfast and a lunch to each child, but we do need both sheets. Delivery time, this is where you'd write down the times that the meals arrive to the park. So sometime after 11:45 p.m., but before, or sorry, a.m., but before 12 p.m. Meals received or prepared. On that first dash there, you could put how many meals we brought to you. The meals available from the previous day at the park sites will always be 0. We're not serving leftover food, equaling the total number of meals that were received or prepared. Next, you'll see the first meals served to children, that meaning 1 meal per kiddo. So in this example, we've served 4 meals. So we're gonna have hash marks over the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll put a 4 on this line that says total first meals. We served 0 second meals. So that next line down will have a 0 because again, we are not serving second meals. That third line down says total program adults. That is where any volunteers who are welcome to a meal after students have eaten would get accounted for. So it says 0, but let's say you were to eat a lunch after the meal service window had concluded, you would put a 1 there and put a hash mark over the number 1. And then non-program adult meals, that fourth line down will always be 0 because again, we aren't serving food to adults unless they are program adults, which means they'd go on the line above. So you'll add up all 4 of those lines together and the total meals served becomes 4. Anytime a meal is damaged, incomplete, dropped, anything like that, obviously, you know, we wouldn't say too bad, so sad. We could reserve a lunch or a breakfast to a student or a kiddo who dropped their meal, but you would mark that down on that next line down. And then you would put any leftover meals. So if you received 20 meals, but you only served 4, you could put 16 meals on that bottom line there. The next section down has a number of additional children requesting a meal after all available meals were served. So this is, for example, if it's 12:29 and you're just finishing lunch service up, but you still have 10 kids on site with only 2 meals left to serve. At that point in time, it is probably too late to call and request additional meals because we can only serve until 12:30, but we want to make a note that there were more kids than we had meals for, so the next day we can provide more meals. If you do know that you're going to run out of meals before your meal service is over and there is enough time, you can call either the Harvey Clark or the Joseph Gale school kitchen lines that I'll provide to you a little later in this presentation, and request additional meals. Either a runner from your site or one of our program coordinators can run those out to you to ensure that every kid who would like a meal will have access to one. That being said, there's still the need to operate within that time frame. So if it is, 12:25, that's probably not enough time to get from your park to your school site and back within that 5 minutes, because remember that meals do need to be done serving at 12:30. And then you're going to sign the very bottom of the page there. And then at the very top margin or on either of the side margins, you can please record the temperatures that you took with our thermometers of the hot and cold food for the day. So just some safety procedures. Remember to wash your hands frequently. We'll provide hand sanitizer for you that has at least 60% alcohol in it to kill germs. Cover all surfaces of your hands with it and rub them together until they feel dry. We'll also provide hand sanitizer for any of the kiddos who will be eating with us, so they are also welcome to sanitize their hands before a meal. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands or even with washed hands, either way. Please do stay home if you are sick. If you are unable to make it to one of your volunteer shifts you have signed up for, please just call us. We will fill that spot for you, no problem. We would really love to keep everybody healthy, and in order to do that, we have to ask unhealthy volunteers to stay home while they aren't feeling well. Masks are required for volunteers. We know that not only are we outside, but some parts of the mask mandate have lifted, but when we are volunteering, we are considered food service staff, and that part has not lifted yet. So we will need to continue to wear masks while we serve food because we are food service. So we appreciate your cooperation with that and look forward to having that there for us. Do please continue to keep about 6 feet between yourself and others, if possible, and if you are masked, short periods of being within 6 feet are okay, but we would prefer if that was minimized. And then clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces. You'll be given a purple spray bottle that has surface disinfectant in there. It is not a food safe disinfectant, but of course it is a strong germ killer. So you can wipe your surfaces after service, but you wouldn't spray it down on any contact surface that was going to touch food. So maintain social distance between your volunteers and participants picking up their meals. We ask that participants are going to follow social distancing also. Please post social distancing signs and communicate with participants to follow the social distancing. And there will be other things like that in your crates. So in addition to the coolers and the hot packs that you'll pick up from your school site every day, there's also going to be a milk crate with the following items. There'll be a binder with your daily meal count sheets. There's And Justice for All poster, social distancing posters, procedures, a disinfectant spray bottle, disposable towels and gloves, hand sanitizer, pens, and any meal supplies you might need, like condiments. Here are just some examples of what those social distancing signs would look like. Not every site will have all of them. Some will have, but everyone will have at least one. Next up, we're going to watch the civil rights training video, and I will get that queued up for us.
USDA Civil Rights Requirements in Child Nutrition Programs. This training presentation is developed and provided by Oregon Department of Education. This session is a review of the USDA Civil Rights Requirements for Child Nutrition Programs. All sponsors of child nutrition programs, including the Child and Adult Care Food Program, National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, Summer Food Service Program, Special Milk Program, and USDA Foods, must comply with Federal Civil Rights Program as part of their agreement with the Oregon Department of Education. Civil rights requirements are intended to ensure benefits of child nutrition programs are made available to all eligible participants in a non-discriminatory manner. All sponsors receiving federal monies must implement the civil rights requirement to be eligible for the program. Discrimination is defined as different treatment to people which make a distinction of one person or a group of persons from others, either intentionally, by neglect, or by the actions or lack of actions based on the protected classes. The federal government, including USDA, has the following protected classes: race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. Discrimination can be easily remembered by thinking of the 4 Ds. Discrimination is when an individual or group of individuals are delayed receiving benefits or services that others receive, denied benefits or services that others receive, treated differently than others to their disadvantage, or given disparate treatment, something which does not seem discriminatory but has a discriminatory impact in practice. Any participant or potential participant may submit a civil rights complaint of unequal treatment verbally, in writing, or may be observed. Complainants may choose to directly contact USDA with their complaint, contact Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program with their complaint, or they may notify the sponsor of their complaint. The sponsor must forward all discrimination complaints received regarding child nutrition programs to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program office within 3 working days. A complaint can be filed within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. All sponsors must develop a written civil rights complaint procedure and implement this procedure. Sponsors may adopt Oregon Department of Education's prototype procedure located on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition website. If sponsors choose this option, be sure to put your sponsor's name at the top of the procedure and then train all staff on this procedure. The civil rights complaint procedure is as follows. A civil rights complaint is received by the sponsor either verbally or in writing. Next, the sponsor logs the complaint in the civil rights complaint log. Additionally, the sponsor gives the complainant the civil rights complaint form, or the sponsor assists the complainant to complete the civil rights complaint form, if needed. If the complainant returns the civil rights complaint form to the sponsor must forward the civil rights complaint form to Oregon Department of Education program within 3 working days. Civil rights complaint forms must be readily available at all sites, including the main office if it is not a serving site. The sponsor must make every attempt to help the complainant complete the civil rights complaint form. All discrimination complaints must be documented in the Civil Rights Complaint Log. The Civil Rights Complaint Log must be dated and kept for 3 years plus current year, even if no complaints have been received. At the end of the fiscal year, please write across the log, "No complaints received," if no complaints were received that year. The short version of the non-discrimination statement is shown here. Federal regulation allow use of a shorter non-discrimination statement on program material mentioning USDA or child nutrition programs if the material is 1 page or less in length. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back. Examples would be brochures, coupons, electronic benefit cards, menus, and flyers. The shorter statement must be the same size print as the text of the document. Sponsors may use the name of the sponsor instead of the words "this institution" in the short non-discrimination statement. This slide shows the long version of the non-discrimination statement. Sponsors must use the long non-discrimination statement on all publications that are over 1 page. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back that mention USDA child nutrition programs. The long statement must be in the same size print as the text of the document. The USDA non-discrimination long statement contains numerous protected classes, which will not apply to all programs. The 6 protected classes relevant to Oregon child nutrition programs remains limited to race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. The non-discrimination statement must be included on program materials such as enrollment forms, menus, employee handbooks, newsletter, brochures, parent or student handbook, print or broadcast ads, flyers, and websites. The non-discrimination statement must be included on program materials such as enrollment forms, menus, employee handbooks, newsletter, brochures, parent or student handbook, print or broadcast ads, flyers, and websites. It is the responsibility of all sponsors to ensure program access for those with limited English proficiency, LEP. LEP is defined as individuals who have limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. Reasonable steps must be taken to ensure meaningful access to programs and activities. Some examples of reasonable accommodation may include providing documents in a variety of languages, providing translation services to those that need help in completing applications, or providing verbal information for those that are unable to read the written information provided. Consider these factors when determining reasonable steps to accommodating limited English proficiency. Number or proportion of people with limited English proficiency in a service population area. The greater the number, the higher the need. The frequency with which agency or sponsors have or could expect to have contact with an individual from different language groups seeking assistance. The more frequent the contact with a particular language group, the more likely that enhanced language services in that language are needed. The importance of the service provided. Will denial of service cause a serious life-threatening implication? And then resources available and the costs involved. Share resources to save money. Here are some resources: the ODE CMP Civil Rights webpage, the NSLP and CACFP Household Application and other pertinent documents in other languages, and a website for further information about LAP. Please visit any of these resources. Sponsors are to collect racial and ethnic data annually and maintain the data on file. Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program may require to see this information at any time. Additionally, Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program will review the racial and ethnic data during administrative reviews. Please do not send racial and ethnic data to Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs unless requested. The Child and Adult Care Food Program and Summer Food Service Program have specific forms to report the information and keep in your file. The form is listed on the resource page at the end of this presentation. An important point to note regarding racial and ethnic data collection is that it's optional for participants to provide you with racial and ethnic information. However, it is a requirement for sponsors to collect and maintain racial and ethnic data on an annual basis. Sponsors may collect racial and ethnic data of the participants from the information provided on the confidential income statement, CIS, or meal application that the household member completes. Since the racial and ethnic section is optional for the household to complete, it may not be provided. If the racial and ethnic information is not provided by the household or the sponsor does not distribute CIS or meal applications, sponsors' knowledge of the participant's ethnicity and race or visual identification may be used to determine a participant's racial and ethnic category. School districts may also use student enrollment information. Racial and ethnic data collection is a two-step process. Separate categories will be used when collecting and reporting race and ethnicity of participants. You may collect this information either from enrollment records or actual attendance. The information is recorded from a specific point in time, for instance, 1 day or 1 month, depending on what information you have available to you. Ethnicity is determined first, then racial designation second. Summary. The Civil Rights Must-Do List. Sponsors must offer any child nutrition program in a non-discriminatory manner. They must train staff annually on civil rights, document the training on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program training form, and retain the documentation on file for 3 years plus the current year. They must develop and fully implement the sponsor's civil rights complaint procedure and make available to all staff civil rights complaint forms, civil rights complaint log, and civil rights complaint procedures. Additionally, sponsors must prominently display and Justice for All poster. The non-discrimination statement must be on all printed and electronic materials available to the public with mention USDA and/or Child Nutrition Program meals and snacks. Sponsors must offer meals to all participants in a non-discriminatory manner, and racial and ethnic data must be collected annually. For USDA civil rights resources such as posters, complaint forms, and prototype civil rights procedure templates, go to Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program public website to the Nutrition Civil Rights page. CACFP Center sponsors may also reference the CACFP Policy and Procedure Manual online. Chapter 11. Hyperlinks to both websites are available on this slide for your convenience. This slide shows USDA's non-discrimination statement. The USDA and the state of Oregon are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Okay, so this is just that non-discrimination statement that they talked about, because this is a USDA program presentation that I'm giving you today. So here's a few pieces of information that you might need. I suggest either taking a screenshot of this, putting these phone numbers into your phone, or otherwise jotting these down. If you don't know where to go and pick up your food, or you need more of it, or you have questions about the meals you were given, you can call either the Joseph Gale Elementary line or the Harvey Clark Elementary line, and those are those phone numbers there. And then if you would like to add a site, have a program concern, etc., you can get a hold of us at the Nutrition Services Office at the phone number listed there. If you are a volunteer and have an immediate need, you need more meals and the kitchen didn't answer, or you aren't able to make it to your volunteer shift, please give Raymond Alfonso a call, and his number is there as well. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for attending this training today, and for volunteering part or all of your summer to help us serve meals to kiddos. More so ever in the COVID-19 pandemic, the community needs us, and we wouldn't be able to meet the need of the community without you here today. I think it goes without saying that not only are you appreciated by us, but you're appreciated by the kids and the parents of this community. We've heard really positive feedback over last summer and all of school closure that, without these meals, many families would be in a much more difficult spot. So the fact that you are here today to learn how to volunteer, to be able to serve those meals, is just immeasurable in our gratitude. So thank you for that. Here you'll see the bit.ly link to sign up to be a volunteer. Please feel free to share this link anywhere to encourage folks to sign up. And as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know in a virtual training, we don't get the opportunity to raise our hands and ask questions, but you can call our office or send an email if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care.